is why.
So the variance body is us.
Correct.
At this point.
It's your bylaw, correct.
Yeah.
So if we allow the horse, then does that mean that we're going to have to allow the chickens and whatever animals?
That's the point.
Okay.
Cows and whatever?
So what I was wondering, Councillor Burton, go ahead before me.
So if the bylaw is there for an obvious purpose, and I think generally is exactly what we need, but if none of your immediate neighbors, if 40 meters, was it 40 meters?
Correct.
So if nobody in the scope of that 40 meters cares, who does? So I would be open to a variance on this, or a relaxation, is probably the better word, but not if I don't see something more concrete, then I talk to my neighbors, because I've heard that before. And I'm not suggesting in any way that he hasn't, and I'm not suggesting that the response will be any different, but as a matter of policy, I would want to have something in writing from them saying so before I pass something I couldn't take back.
Okay. For me, it's a little bit of a different take. I'm looking at the bylaw and I'm thinking, over the years, we have had people asking exactly for that. Can we have some chicken? Can we have some goats? And I'm wondering, is our bylaw too tight as the perimeters regarding the 14 meters? Is that too tight? Should it be
Meaning
expanded?
It should be more than 40 meters?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
if-
or less than. Or should there be a revision? I mean, in some other town, there is allowance given for that type of thing on small parcels. And I'm wondering, are we an oddity, or are we open a Pandora box if we allow one? We can know of quite a few other in this community that will be at council table to seek permission to have animal too. So we know that for sure. Councillor Brown?
So I happen to agree with Councillor Jensen on this. I'm nervous, as you just said, that we're opening Pandora's box here. I think, does it fit the bylaw? No, it doesn't. So I don't support having a horse in my neighbor's backyard, or cows, or pigs, or chickens. I'm okay with children and dogs and cats.
How about
Quiet
bears?
dogs.
How about bears?
Sometimes.
You'll see bears
Okay,
back here.
all right, Councillor Kenley, no, Councillor Grainger.
Once again, I agree with Councillor Brown. I love it when I agree with Councillor Brown. And I think legal question, if we allowed this, does it set a precedent? We could say no to, somebody wants 16 goats within 40 feet. What does it set a precedent, and is that binding? I'm
They'll
concerned.
certainly argue that it does. Whether it does or not is a different question, but they'll certainly
Yeah.
argue that it does.
Okay, so Councillor Kenley, how do you feel about that?
I'm about on the fence on this one. I agree with Councillor Burton and I agree with Councillor Jensen in the sense of I don't want tons of animals in my neighbor's backyard causing a disturbance, but if my neighbors are okay with it, that's where I sit.
What if the neighbors move?
I hate the term slippery
Very
slope
right.
because I've heard it way too often the last couple of weeks.
Very true.
But where I live at, Darren Shaw, Uncle Darren, had to leave a 40-meter gap in his,
Yeah.
right there next to where my son is, and I think that's just perfect. And I think if you start saying, well, he can do this, why can't I?
Okay.
You got a problem.
All right, so I think, Jeff, the answer is there is not much appetite to change the bylaw, and the answer would not be favorable.
Yeah, if there's no motion that comes up right now, then I'll tell him
There
such.
is no, it's
Yeah.
not favorable. All right, so the 5B, the transfer of reserve funding for the recycling building. If you remember, we had a recommendation to council brought last time to try to improve the quality of the building.
I would like to make the motion, but I also, before I say that, need to be clear that the newspaper is wrong.
They're going to correct it next week.
Yeah,
We
there
do
were,
not have asbestos that we're aware of, and we're not killing any employees that we're aware of.
Correct.
you.
Correct on both accounts.
Thank you. So I would move to transfer $5,500 from reserve account 4-10-265 to the 2022 budget account 2-43-202.
thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Let's move on. 6A, there is on the 6A and 6B tax penalty concession. They're a little bit different. Tax concession 1 is a gentleman that unfortunately was on holiday and missed the payment of his taxes on time and is seeking for forgiveness of his interest, arguing that for 2 days overdue, the town is really gouging him. But the issue here is there's a bylaw, everybody knows that the taxes are due at a certain day, and I really don't think there's much to debate here.
If I may, I was on holidays at the same time and I got my taxes paid.
Thank you. All right, so I do not see any appetite to change the interests,
Waive the interest.
and the interest will have to be paid. Thank you. Tax penalty concession 2, that is a little bit more of an interesting story. The story is that the business was sold and the mailbox was closed before the tax notice arrived to those people. So one could say, well, they never got their notice, except that those owners had that business for a long time and paid their taxes any other year at the right time. So I can understand that there was some language barrier, some difficulties, but what do you feel should be done?
No, they've got to get their act together better than that, and, you know, why should the taxpayers bail them out? Sorry, no.
There's no secret taxes are owing.
Right. I mean, everybody knew that the tax were owed. Anybody else wants to take a kick at this one?
A bunch of hard motions here.
I'm sorry. No? All right. So, Jeff, the answer is the same as under 6A. Damage reimbursement under 6C. That poor golf range is going to cause us a lot of headache. Go ahead.
So I will tell you right up front, I am support of paying this one. And here's why. Because I've been on council for 5 years-ish. And in that time, we have had them come. And we know that that is a problem. We know. It's been brought up to us before. On my way to the dump today, there is a net that's been put up along that road that's got a net, sorry?
For softball.
For softball, to protect vehicles from that. Yes, I understand the town, we were given the quote and it hurt our feelings hugely about how expensive it was going to be. But I am saddened that he called the town office and they suggested that he track down the person that hit him. Because I happen to walk that road often, and there is always golf balls in the ditch, right up in the road, on the road. This is an us problem, and I am concerned, sorry.
Sean?
I'll get it.
And I am concerned that that someone is going to get hit because we have so much walking traffic there. It is a concern for me, so this is an action for me.
Okay. I'd like to address a few things about it.
When I looked at this, I was kind of appalled that we haven't put a net up. And my feelings is that, you know, if we don't get the net, we're going to be, and if we pay for this, we're going to be paying for multiple windshields and whatnot.
We already
Now,
have.
my feelings are is if we get the net up ASAP, then no,
Okay.
don't pay them. And if we're not gonna put a net up, then start forking over the money for everyone that gets hit.
All right.
Just saying the precedence has already been set. We've had one go through a guy's radiator, we paid for that, we paid for a windshield before.
Okay. All right. So here's a little bit, go ahead.
Just devil's advocate for a millisecond. What about their own insurance? Does that come into play?
Their own insurance asked them to come and talk to the town because I was president.
And there's something called claiming over, where that insurance company
Right.
could sue our
Okay.
insurance company.
So, 2 points. I asked Jeff, and I'm glad he's coming back. Asked Jeff if there was any camera at all that could track what happened around that time. And Jeff, you told me that the footage doesn't show any ball kind of
Yeah,
going over the
The
thing.
assumption is they just have the time or date mistaken.
So that,
yeah.
might not have had the right time or date.
Yeah.
So that's one. The other one is, maybe Jeff, you can help me with that one. The cost of netting, I understand, is almost prohibitive. It's a $200,000 or something of that sort for something that is high enough in order to be able to stop the balls, correct?
Couple questions here.
But is that correct?
So I'll speak on that really quick. When Paul was here, he thought, let's try and get some poles. I'll try and find some netting. I think we budgeted $30,000 or something to do it. Paul left, so Tony came in and called a couple of the companies that build them along the highways, and they came in just under $300,000 to be able to put up a net that won't just tear apart every year in our wind.
And
Right,
that's
to be
the
able to have
problem.
something that's
Yeah.
gonna hold and deal with the wind we have here, it came in. Well, I mean, we can look at all those kind of options, right? He just looked at those big driving range, multi-story
Right,
driving
yeah.
range guys that build them,
Chicken wire.
Yeah, chicken wire.
just how long that'll last.
Or just keep paying when it happens?
Well, that's opening also a very slippery slope box to me.
That word again.
2 points on that. There's the famous Ford Pinto case. It was American, but the principle of it is this. If you know that there's a likelihood that somebody's going to be
You're liable.
injured by your stuff, and for economic reasons, you choose not to deal with it because it's cheaper to pay the claims than it is to fix the problem,
You're guilty.
they're going to penalize you with everything they've got in court. Now, Canada won't be as bad as the States.
It's negligence.
Secondly, it raises the moral issue of that.
Exactly. It's negligence, in my opinion,
Well,
right?
I think it's one step worse than negligence. If you're doing it purely for economic reasons, they say, well, we'll replace that child's eyeball. No, you won't.
Ever,
You won't, ever.
right?
Some kid goes by in a scooter and gets one in the eyeball.
Yeah. No,
I'm not
I
prepared to
hear
do
you.
that.
So there is a fixing for that. We eliminate the wrench.
Or move it, or put up chicken wire, or,
That was gonna be my comment. Is there any chance, and I don't understand, I don't know the whole layout, you'd know it better. Is there any chance of moving that thing somewhere else on the course?
I mean, it's something we've talked about as we've been looking at the new clubhouse, is should the clubhouse go right in front there? But then I don't know where the heck you'd move and find 300 and something
That's the
yards,
issue,
right?
yeah.
One of the, if I might, and I appreciate your comments, but I thought of it when you were speaking, Councillor Burton, is one of the challenges that both Paul and Tony have brought up with me is we can put up any net in the world about as high and long as we want, but those that are maliciously trying to damage property and vehicles will continue to be able to damage property and vehicles. I can chip over any height of net from the driving range. It's no problem. I mean, unless you go like astronomically high, but if you go to a reasonable size net, those that wish to do damage will do damage. One of the pieces of damage we had came from someone on the driving range shooting directly north into homes. Not even shooting east. Right? So idiots will still cause damage if they choose to be idiots to cause damage. And so we're not sure how to mitigate that part either.
but I was actually going to caveat mine with saying, unless it was intentional, and I thought, well, nobody would ever do that
Oh, yeah,
intentionally.
they do.
Yeah.
But they are, that's where most of the damage come from.
There's something going in my yard.
I understand that it makes a reasonable amount of revenue, but given the risks,
Right.
risk management, should we just close it? We cannot afford to put the fence up, and it wouldn't necessarily get us off the hook anyway. Should we just shut her down? Not every golf course has a driving range.
So I think it's a question that needs to be discussed. It's been interesting because the frequency of these issues has come up a lot more in the last 3 years
Yes,
because the
yeah.
frequency of use has increased tenfold. You know, we started selling passes, family passes, personal passes, and that's just increased the use like crazy. I mean, we're buying, I think, 6,000 balls a year because that's how many were getting stolen. And so
What's it make a year, do we know?
I'd have to grab those numbers, but we do separate that out, and I could look, and it's been good, but do I think that's a discussion worth having, Councillor? Yeah, I do.
Okay, Councillor Brown,
So I was just going to make a motion.
please.
So I make a motion that we approve the repair of $957.81 to Ken Wild for the damage of his truck from the golf club.
Thank you. So, questions?
I just want to bring up the point that I want to defend the town by what they said to Ken to go find the person, because that person is liable. When I'm on the golf course and I hit someone or I hit a window, I'm paying for it. If I'm on like that, whoever hit that ball and hit his truck or hit over vehicle, they're liable. If I killed someone on that highway and they came to me, it's not the town, it's me. So I'm defending the town for whoever told them that. But in this situation, I agree with the motion that we should refund him. But I'm just throwing that out there that it is the person hitting the balls that's liable.
Councillor?
Just further to Councillor Kenley's point, he's not wrong on that at all, but you can have joint liability. So if we know there's a problem, we know that in any given year, 50 balls go over onto the highway, and it's not even just a pedestrian street, right? It's Highway 501 that ups the ante, I think. Then I think there could definitely be some joint liability there. The other thing I was just going to put out there for your thoughts, and I had this discussion with Councillor Brown, this is different than somebody who builds a house beside the golf course and they come to us because their front window got broken.
Yeah.
The cases say, hey, that's on you, buddy. You built next to a golf course, right?
Yeah,
That's
no, I
different.
totally agree.
But somebody should be able to expect to drive
Freely.
at the normal speed down that highway and not get hit by
Without
a
being
golf
hit.
ball.
No, I get it. I get it. You see, it's not like in Belgium. In Belgium, they have right now the big sugar beets and trucks that don't have any top over. And if there is a bit that goes and hit your hood, too bad. So sad. You are responsible for the damage. You don't get any insurance from it, zero. So that's a different story. So let's vote on it. All in favor? Thank you.
You want a break for dinner, Mayor?
Yeah, maybe we should,
Do.
yes.
Is there any appetite for council to direct administration to look into alternatives to a $300,000 fix?
Yes. Would you please put a motion forward?
It was, so I
Yeah.
so move.
All right. So thank you so much. I think it's a very good motion, Councillor, and
I'll
I think we
include-
need to look at
I'll
it.
include relocating the driving range
Right.
in that.
Yeah,
Just
Thank
if we're
you.
looking, let's look.
all options possible. All in favor? Thank you very much. Now a motion to
I was just
recess.
gonna add one thing.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we say this fence is super expensive, but it's gonna take one person getting killed,
That's right.
and then that fence not very expensive.
Councillor.
I think everyone agrees that I'm just throwing that out
Councillor, you couldn't be more right.
Anyways,
You couldn't be more right.
make a motion to have a break for.
Thank you.
15
15 minutes. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Councillor Brown, you'll have 15 minutes to tidy up the rest of the agenda.
Councillor, we're back in session. All in favor? Thank you. All right, so let's go. Economic Development Committee recommendation.
That's me.
Councillor Brown, do you want to talk to that?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Okay, so at our Economic Development Committee meeting, we had Gordon Atkins, who is a member of our committee. He's a member at large. He brought the idea forward. He comes from the city. He's also the developer that has developed the property right along the golf course. And he would like to see people no longer allowed to park their boats, trailers, good news, not, yeah, anyway, boats, trailers, whatever, in their property, on their property. He thinks that it should be at a rental place somewhere, but he feels that within a town, it is better to beautify it, and that. That's what he has to say. Now, I would like to speak to this. So I disagree. I think a lot of people move to Cardston because of there's many reasons we all move to Cardston, but a lot of us buy bigger properties in which to park a boat on, park a trailer on, whatever. Now, I understand if I live next door to Councillor Grainger and I'm parking on his front lawn, he might not like that, right? So I'll give him a goat or something. But the moral of the story is it's just he is looking at it from a city perspective, and I feel like the town residents won't appreciate this perspective, is my personal opinion on this.
I believe you're correct.
Now, is this on property or is he talking like
Property.
street?
Property.
Property.
He does
Okay.
not want to see it parked in my driveway or next to my house.
So I'm gonna kind of come after the town on this and saying, I always see the postings about get your trailers off the streets, blah, blah, blah. Same trailers do not come off the streets, and I wonder, are they actually being enforced? Like, there's trailers where I'm driving and kids run out of nowhere, and I almost take them out, and I just want, whether it's we make something that says they cannot be left on the streets. I understand if you're going camping the next day, you're getting it prepped, blah, 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 but there's trailers that stay on the roads through winter, anyways, that's fine.
Okay, so the story with that, if I understand correctly, if they're attached, they can be moved even 100 feet or 50 feet for 15 days and still parked there. Is that correct?
That's correct. The bigger issue is if you have your trailer on the street and is not connected to anything, it is not insured in any way. So if I go rear into the back of it and I am injured, you will personally have to pay for that. Your insurance company will not step in and intervene for you. An RV disconnected from its vehicle is not insured for liability.
And that is something that is very serious for all of us because you wouldn't get your money worth. Thank you.
I have a trailer and a boat, and they're both parked on my property. One of the reasons why I like living in a small town is because I can do that. And I would be greatly offended and upset if I was told that I have to pay to have my trailer and my boat parked someplace else.
Okay.
And another thing that bothers me is when I see a trailer of any kind parked on the street and is not hitched up to a vehicle. That
That's
really
what we-
bothers me.
That's what we just talked about. Go ahead.
Once again, I am proud to say I agree with Councillor Brown.
Careful.
I have an RV, and I was quite happy when I bought my house that I have room on the side of it to park my RV. And this is city stuff, and this is a small town, and
Okay. All right. So I don't think there is a desire for changes.
I have a question, though. I thought a trailer sitting on the street unattached,
There's a bylaw.
We have one.
there's a bylaw that says that if it's there 3 days, longer than 3 days, it can be towed. Is that correct?
I'd have to check the bylaw, but it
Yeah, I
sounds.
believe that's the case.
From
Yeah.
certain months
And
to
you
certain
should
months.
not have lines crossing the sidewalk
And it happens everywhere.
because it's a danger. It's a danger for a pedestrian. It's a danger for someone biking.
Yeah.
They get entangled in the lines and can suffer a very serious fall. That's an issue. And we see that but too often.
So what we would say to the public essentially then is if in fact you are seeing this, call the town, sorry Jeff, call the town so we can let the bylaw officer know, because, Councillor Kenley driving past it, if I don't know about it, I can't fix it. We have bylaws in place, whether it's your yard length of your, whatever. This is something that matters, and we're talking almost hitting a child. Like, what is it going to take, right? So make sure that make sure that we are adhering to the bylaws. And I believe it says something from this month to this month, like, don't we allow it?
October to March, they can't
Yes.
be on.
Exactly, period. Yeah, that's my understanding.
All right.
Bylaw officer has a vehicle. I mean, there's been one down 7th Street towards 2nd Avenue. It's been there forever.
That's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Sean hasn't gone around and tagged it. And Brad used to put little notices on it, yeah. So
All
maybe we
right.
need to start doing that more.
So, good point, councillors. I don't think there is any appetite to move anything, so therefore, I'm sorry to report to Mr. Atkins that there is no appetite of council to change a bylaw. And we appreciate his desire for aesthetic, but at this time, maybe,
However, with that being said, I think Mr. Atkins would be wise to maybe have that available for those people that don't have anywhere to put their trailer, right?
well, if he so
The
wishes.
street trailers, or, I don't know, that's just.
Business
I
owner
mean, if he
thing.
wants to have a business, that's fine for him,
Right,
but it
that's what I'm
doesn't
getting.
force the
Lots of
town
do.
to change a bylaw. Yeah.
Schaefer and Red both allow it.
Yes.
All right. So under 6E ATCO gas franchise fee, it has been for a long time a standing policy for us to pay about to receive about 15% franchise fees. And if you put it up higher, it's a flow-through. So, which means that if you put it 20%, the customer pays 20%. There is no benefit for us to get it there. Councillor.
So I've made this point before, and I don't know if it stuck or I was wrong, one or the other, but a utility has cast a much broader net than a land tax. And so, for example, provincial buildings, we don't get to tax those. Federal buildings.
Oh, I see what you're
So,
saying, yeah.
churches, the list goes on, things owned by charities, like the list is as long as your arm, things that actually aren't taxable under the MGA for land tax. So to some degree, they get a free ride. We can say, well, we want them to have a free ride. Some of them, we probably don't want them to have a free ride. So in my opinion, I would much rather raise a utility rate or a premium on a utility rate than I would the land tax. We can have the same net amount come into our coffers, but I'd much rather cast a broad net and have the post office help pay for our town than I would just on the people who own homes and businesses. And I looked through the list, and for some reason, Shem couldn't open this document. He asked for my help. I couldn't help him either. But, no, just kidding, it was the other way around. But I couldn't open it, but I did go through it. The average, if you add all those up, we're at, are we at 15?
15 is
Yeah, so
22.
the average is 18, if
18.
my math was right. So, one, we're below average, but the range went all the way up to some of them were 35. And two or three were at 0, which I, for the life of me, can't imagine. But and then a couple of them had it looked staggered, so that if they were extra high consumption, then there was a higher rate on those last however many kilowatts or whatever. And in our town, I don't see any need for that. But I would suggest that we do increase it, and I would suggest we increase it quite a bit for the reasons that I mentioned. It doesn't mean that they have to, at the end of the day, pay one dime more. In fact, they might end up paying less, right? Because if I've got a broader pool that are contributing into our coffers, our general income for the town, general revenue, I may actually be able to lower that somebody's house tax or their business tax, because now I'm collecting money from the federal government on the post office. Am I wrong on that concept? I mean,
Okay.
the fact that it's a much broader pool.
Okay, I understand how you're thinking, what you're trying to say is increase a franchise because it applies to every property in town,
Correct.
but lower the utilities,
No, the land tax.
oh, the
So-
land tax.
so The utilities
I get
and the
you.
provision of the utilities,
Okay.
I'm putting all in the same basket.
Okay,
And I'm differentiating it from a land tax under the MGA where there are a whole bunch of exemptions,
yeah, I
right?
get you. Yeah,
Charities
no,
are
I
exempt,
understand.
province, federal, blah, 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 they're all exempt from paying, we can't
Yeah.
tax them.
Yeah, yeah, I get
So this
you.
is a way that indirectly,
No, I
yeah,
understand.
we're subsidizing the federal post office.
Yeah, we are, and so the
So I would
hospital
say,
and
let's not do
everything-
that. Let's
The
do the
hospital and
opposite.
everything else. I understand.
Are you able to, like, different rates for different people or different,
No, no,
like,
it's,
for business or residential kind of thing?
you can do that with your land tax,
But not
but
with
not
this?
for the franchise, no.
Okay.
The franchise, or we increase it for all,
It's all or nothing kind of thing.
well, that's what I understand.
Well, it looked like they had a graduated one, but again, that was only 3 communities. Or not graduated, stepped.
But step within a year or within 3 years?
I didn't
or-
have the detail, I could just see they had 2 rates
Oh, based on usage,
of
okay.
consumption, yeah.
Okay.
So I think I understand you, Councillor Burton. Are you suggesting by motion potentially that we increase it to, say, 18?
I'd go higher than that, because we can compensate, let's say that net that brings in, I'll just make it up, $200,000, more than we had. We're completely at liberty when we set our budget to decrease, if we wanted a net zero, we
Yeah,
could
right.
decrease our residents' house tax, their property tax, by that same 200. And the difference is now I'm having the federal government, the provincial government, who have been so stingy to us in the past, anteing up. I'm all for that.
So are you prepared to make a motion, and do you have a figure in mind?
I do and I do. I am and I do.
Can
I'm
you
all
give?
ears.
No, can you give us a
I mean,
sense of
but only
where
if we
you?
agree on the concept.
I
Okay.
would agree.
I understand the concept. Councillor Court?
So I'm gonna be paying more, but hopefully I get a break on my taxes. Is that what you're
Hopefully.
telling me?
You're right. That's hopefully.
Well, that's up to us.
Vote against that.
I mean, it's the same 7 people.
We just jacked up the utilities quite a bit recently, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how this is gonna play out in the public's mind.
Well, when does it take effect if we change
Mayor?
it?
But like Jeff said, it's based on consumption by,
No,
It's a flat fee.
it's a flat. right
Flat
now.
rate.
Some communities have a second rate for high consumers. So if you're Tabor, for example, I would imagine like the potato
Hospital.
plant has an immense consumption.
That was my guess. Heavy
Yeah,
industry. or
they just got
even
these,
Big light
these,
industry.
yeah.
sugar factories.
So they've put a premium on those. I don't think we would have, in fact, our sewer plant's probably the biggest natural gas consumer, something like that. So we don't have any major consumers. So you would see that's unusual.
Okay. Can I maybe ask something from Jeff? Jeff, I don't know what the franchise fee represents on a monthly bill.
Tell you right now.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So
I'll pull it up.
can we maybe bring that back to the next council? Have a look at the impact of increasing it to what percentage were you thinking, Councillor?
Around 25, we're still nowhere near the
25%,
top.
okay. If administration could maybe show us what 25% would look like on an average bill.
Can I make one more point? So the only question in my mind is the timing of it. So that's the question I'd have for Jeff. If this takes effect now, but we don't give them a tax break on their property tax till next year, then there's a lag time where
Yeah.
it would hurt them.
Yeah, well, that's
That's
exactly.
that's the only question kind of
Yeah.
running in my head.
This is to 2023. We actually have until November to even respond.
Oh, so then I'm 100% for
So
doing
can we do a little bit more work? Are you okay? Can somebody put a motion forward to direct administration to do a little bit of work for that? Go
Yeah.
ahead, Councillor Burton.
I move that we direct administration to give us some dollar details
On the
on what
impact.
that looks like for, I guess, the various, residential and business.
Yeah. On the impact on their
Yeah, and then
utility bill.
also a total, and they could even bring back, for example, they could say, well, at 20%, at 25, at 30, at 35, because we've got lots of communities at 35%.
And revenue protection.
Yeah, what the gross revenue would be to us, then individually how it affects
Okay.
homes and businesses.
I'll just tell you, my highest bill in the last year in the winter, I paid $11.22.
For the
For the
franchise
franchise
fee. So if you were
I
to,
was on a
if you were,
$470 bill.
if you were to put it 10% higher, 10% would be about less than $2 for you. Okay, so there is a little bit of a
keep it
revenue interest, and
All right.
there's motion is on the table. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Burton, for bringing that back to our attention. The letter to Mr. Chandro, if you are okay, we'll send that letter. Councillor?
I make a motion to send the letter to the Minister of Justice and Solicitor General Deputy House Leader.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. The resolutions, I looked at them all, I read them all. They're all actually fairly interesting for that matter. I didn't find one that I couldn't really support. I think,
I found one.
which one is
You
it?
already know.
Oh,
Maybe you don't. There is one there where the municipalities are trying to go over into education, which I think is
Oh, yeah.
provincial jurisdiction, and
Yes.
I don't know why we've got our fingers in that.
yeah, I
Regardless
agree.
of what you want afterwards, I don't know why we're jumping jurisdiction there.
Well, the jurisdiction,
Because it comes back to, I don't know, it just seems very odd that the
that-
municipalities have that, because it doesn't come back and affect the municipality. It may serve its own end, but it doesn't to the municipality.
well,
That's how I differentiate that from all the other ones.
Councillor, I kind of disagree. I'll tell you why. When a homeowner doesn't pay his taxes on time, we are obligated to remit the education portion of those taxes. And we act as a banker for the province. And that's no fun. And some years has not been very good for us. And those are ways that we subsidize the government by having to absorb the cost of those taxes not paid. So that's a
Might be
negative
talking about a
portion of
slightly
it.
different one, but I'll leave that alone.
Yeah, that's the only one that, yeah. I'm not so 100% sure that I agree with the principle either, but there is something about the taxes, if they separate them from the
Some
land,
connection, sure.
yeah.
I thought you were going to say, and I looked for it and I didn't see it, is the provincial Save the Beaver policy, but. So this, I don't know how many
That's
of these.
next year's motion.
Yeah.
I'll work it up.
Are we going to go through these at our session, or how are we doing this
When?
next week?
When you will be there together, we normally kind of caucus around the table and say, well, I read this one, I really feel this way or that way, and it goes fairly quick and it's pretty.
Are we doing that on Tuesday?
No, you're doing it when you do the voting.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
in the session.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
you always
all
have
right, and we
time
do that-
because.
And I like the idea that
Yeah,
we do it as a collective.
they present a motion, that somebody's a second it, and you have time to kind of talk
I'm
it
there for the
over.
music myself. But
Yeah, I like the music.
Right?
Okay, are we okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, on the 7A financial report, we're still in good shape, very good shape. And
Mayor,
grateful for those things.
but not so great shape that we don't want money from the government for our sewer treatment plant. if
Okay,
we were to
so
open
that,
up.
that is a letter somehow, I don't know where it is.
I know.
Where is that letter, Jeff?
It's there.
The letter about the sewer plant?
Yeah.
That was on the last agenda.
Yeah.
Oh.
We already passed it.
Yeah, and so anyways, I really concerned about that. And I spoke to Emily Joskow that I met at the grocery store. And he called it totally unacceptable. I tried to explain to him the rationale behind it, which we thought was because we had not contravened the Environment Act by dumping sewage in a river when we could have,
We didn't.
and we didn't. And for that, we are penalized and told that we have not had contraventions, therefore we must be doing the right thing and not need a new sewer plant.
I should know the answer to this, but I don't, or maybe I'm confused. What's the difference between unrestricted and internally restricted?
Oh,
Surplus.
earmarked or not,
I was just gonna ask that question.
earmarked or not, that's what it is.
I just want to know, like, what
Yeah, no, that's okay, it's a
Very
good,
bottom.
it's a good thing.
On the,
Accumulated.
that would be on the balance sheet, I
Yeah.
guess. eh?
Yeah.
Restricted means that we give it a specific application.
Goes
Like a
towards.
fire truck type thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so your almost all of your reserves are internally restricted.
Oh,
Should be.
7.3 is the,
Yeah, correct.
so that means it's allocated for something.
There are
Allocated,
there was a
that's
resolution at some point in time to allocate it for a purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
the
that's what
unrestricted
it
is cash sitting there.
Yeah, that's what it means. Thank you for asking, Councillor, because those terms sometimes can be confusing.
Thank you.
Yes,
Just a quick question.
there is
Oh,
one
sorry, go
here and
ahead.
one there.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So just to conclude on your discussion on the sewage plant, we are discussing that on Tuesday, correct? In terms of, is that right? Is it on the?
There is a presentation to the Minister of Transportation that will happen.
Yeah, so the sewer plant discussion associated is actually virtually joining the meeting to give an update on where things are at. And
That's
then
a technical thing.
Correct, and then I wanted to go over the presentation to the minister because it's the next night. No, it's that night.
Okay, so there will be opportunity for us to
Yeah.
kick this around.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, to kick it, you're right.
Yeah.
Councillor Court?
So if I understand this, we have $4.656 million in unrestricted surplus.
You don't, actually. I was just looking at that. I recognize it says it on the page. That's the accumulation of annual surpluses, and I'm not sure why it shows like this.
So what do we have?
You have 7.345. Yeah, you have very little cash in unrestricted surplus, if
We
any.
just don't, it's all allocated. No.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
we could change that if we wanted to.
I'll tell, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it, but I'll talking about that and why it represents that way, because you can't see this, I have it on mine, there's a general surplus deficit of 9 million and then a surplus of 13, and it's all of the previously stated opening balance surpluses of every year, and I'm not sure why it accumulates like that on the balance sheet, because it doesn't represent in cash. So
Right.
I'll check that out a little bit.
Because most of all that money that is there is invested right now to try to make some money, and only when we need the money do we cash in those investments.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, on the 7B meeting with Moses Lake Committee, I was talking to Councillor Brown just at the break, and I have been contacted by Heather Fox, Mrs. Heather Fox from the Moses Lake Committee, who would like to have a meeting. Jeff, I gave you 3 dates.
September 30th, October 3rd, and October 5th.
Okay, and that would be about 5 o'clock. So,
dates again, sorry?
which one, is September 30th or October the 3rd or October the 5th? And I believe it would be a fairly short meeting.
That was all of us?
No.
Okay.
I don't feel good about the 30th, as in it is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, so I don't feel like we should have a meeting on that day.
Excellent, well,
Trusting you.
Anyway, or October 3rd or
And-
October 5th. I could,
Can you do October 3rd?
I can't, I'm away October 3rd. The 5th, I have economic growth and development
Yeah.
at 5:15.
I'm away on the 3rd as well. So,
Okay, should I call her back and
I
ask
could
her
do the
for?
5th, but later that day. Like
Okay,
I
around
could do it at 6.
6 o'clock?
Yeah, I could totally do it
Okay,
at
so
6.
could 6
5th.
o'clock work? I don't know that we need to be the three of us there, to tell you the truth, but 2 would be good.
I do have a Alberta Southwest, but I'd rather go to this
Okay.
one than that one.
I don't think it's going to take very long, to tell you the
That's
truth.
just Moses Lake when you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, Councillor Brown, could we do it together on the 5th?
Sounds
And I
good.
said 6 o'clock?
Sounds good.
I will
Here?
call, yes, here in this chamber.
Okay.
I will,
Councillor Court and Councillor Brown.
Councillor Court, if you're not able, don't worry about it, because like I say, I don't think she will come with the whole committee. I think she might come
I
herself and
missed the last
somebody
one. I'd
else.
like to be on this one. It's just I gotta find out where Alberta Southwest is,
Sounds
what's
good.
going on with that.
You know, what she's really want to discuss is some programs that she wants to do for people in the community in Moses Lake for the fall. And it probably has to do with the sewing classes she's trying to put together, I think.
Okay,
Okay. On this, are we good?
Yep.
Okay. On the 7C, the follow-up from CCW item, do we need to talk any more regarding that? We were,
if I could just backtrack for a minute, could we find out what she really wants to talk about?
that's what I was talking about. It's
I know.
about,
Was that it? then?
okay, I can ask if she has a fuller
Everything.
agenda.
Okay,
I will.
thank you.
Okay, I will text you.
Okay.
Okay. Both.
Yep.
Are we okay with 7C?
Yep.
I think we have enough. Okay. Now let's go on the 8 questions. Any questions for administration? No? Maybe, do you have all your rights settled for next week, councillors?
I will not, I told Jeff I will not be joining.
Yeah,
I will be
I'll be on Zoom with you too. Okay,
Sounds good.
Yeah,
So-
I have a question.
okay, go ahead.
Jeff, do you know yet when you want to convene the review committee? The review
Okay.
committee for the Main Street pre-design proposals?
Yeah, while three of you were in the room, I wanted to find out about that. I talked to Brandon today.
Okay, guys.
He's scrambling a bit, but I told him it'd probably just be an hour. So yeah, it's up to us when we want to meet.
Okay, is Friday any good for anybody? Tomorrow, Wednesday is crazy for me. I couldn't really put another thing in there. Neither could Jeff.
Yeah, no, I'm full up.
Thursday is possible, kind of.
I'm good Friday.
I'm not.
Okay, is Thursday better in the morning?
Well, that was last week.
Sorry, I
Friday.
work Thursday, Friday this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my
Is following Monday?
Could be
is-
Monday before we go. That's,
Early
or
morning.
we get together. Well, you won't be there. I was gonna say.
On a Monday, I can be there to come and see what's going on.
Do it Monday.
Yeah,
Monday early, like 9-ish?
sure.
Monday 9.
Also
Okay,
in
fair.
Stop.
What time do
I
we
want
have
to
leave?
remind you that Monday is that national.
Mid-afternoon.
The Monday's the 19th of September. It's a day that we have that national
For the
day
Queen.
of mourning,
So federal workers have a holiday.
right? And so it doesn't affect the municipalities.
Not that I'm aware.
So if we want to meet at 9 a.m., it's quite okay.
Or 10?
10,
Councillor Jensen, has a question?
yeah. Councillor?
I have a library board meeting, so I won't be going until Monday until evening.
Yeah, that's
No,
okay.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So 10 o'clock on Monday, is that what y'all said?
So who is going,
But hold
You-
on, let's just put us, the Main Street, 9 or 10?
10.
10?
10 o'clock, done.
And that's Thursday.
Nope,
That's Monday.
Monday.
Oh,
Still.
I wrote it Monday,
Monday, the
sorry.
19th, 10 a.m.
Yeah, Monday's the 19th. or the 18th?
19th.
19th, you said the 18th, 19th. Okay, all right, let's move on.
Did you want to talk about rides, just to confirm?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but we didn't go very far. Councillor Brown and Councillor Grainger, are you
We are good to go.
good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, good to go.
Councillor Court, are you going with anybody? Councillor Burton, are you going on your
Well,
own?
I'm driving up, I just don't know when. I have a thing for court I have to have done. and I'll
So
leave when I
the
get it
three of
done.
you are going to go individually? Okay. All right. So, settled. Correspondence. There are many letters. What I observed in all those letters regarding the prohibition is that the item at hand was exploring license B, but most of those letters spoke of license A, restaurants, or even license D,
Liquor stores.
liquor stores. That was interesting. And the last piece of correspondence that is different is on the L from Tanya Thorne, and Tanya is true to herself. Alberta Municipality, an update, and you can see that she's seeking to represent all the small communities again. She's done a fantastic job. I think she's extremely thorough. Now, the only thing that has me a little bit surprised in her mail is regarding the notion of a provincial police, where she feels that we need to call for a referendum because the government is not listening to the municipalities, of which a very large amount have shown a desire to go and to keep the RCMP. I was not especially comfortable with that notion. I thought, man, that's a little bit difficult for municipality to absorb the whole concept. Imagine people trying to absorb that.
Plus, like I said last time, those are two different issues. We may be completely for having a provincial police force, but not be able to pay for it, or not know if we could pay for it, or not know what they think we're going to pay for it. Like, those are two very different issues in my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can lump them together and have a vote on it now, because we don't even have information. What are we voting on?
I'm afraid that the referendum might say something, considering that having a provincial police will increase your taxes. Are you in favor of removing the RCMP from doing the police work in this province?
But Councillor Burton, I see them as being connected, because if you can't afford it, you can't have it. And therefore,
How do we know we can't afford it? We don't know that we can't afford it. How do we know that? We haven't
well, I
had
don't
any
know.
numbers
I
put to
guess the
us.
numbers I've seen, it's pretty frightening.
My question is, do the cities that don't use the RCMP, are they going to be involved in this referendum too?
Okay, so those are questions, you know, you
Wondering.
will probably hear a lot more at AUMA.
Yeah,
I am
I'm
pretty
sure
sure
we
you will, and from there on, I'm pretty sure they will take a straw poll of what's going on in a room at that point. But there again, some communities are represented by 5 people, some by 1, and so they will have a pool of people present, but not a pool of municipalities, which is always an issue.
Got a question. Are those kind of meetings available to watch from Zoom, like a live?
It will be, the general sessions will be, and the voting, the only thing you cannot vote.
Right. I just want, like, just to
You
listen
can have
to it.
virtual attendance to this.
Okay.
The mayor's get registered for virtual.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, Councillor.
Can I just go back to the plethora of letters that we've had? you're right. Many of the letters are outside the bounds of our, I call it the Kinley motion, of the land use bylaw amendment related to Class B. But that's real, right? And I think we have to somehow deal with this either through education and consultation or whatever, but it opened up Pandora's box. And whether we like it or not, it is out there, okay?
And totally right.
Yeah. And
Totally
I think
right.
we need to grapple with it, because we can't just ignore it. Oh, well, we were only ever talking about B. I know we were. And every response, and I've done, I don't know, half a dozen responses, I said that, and I copied Jeff on one of them, just to have a sounding board, and Jeff's response was what I said was entirely accurate, trying to educate the person writing to me, about what the Kenley motion was about. The second point I wanted to make is Mr. Erickson's comment, and it's about a liquor store. But the point he's making, and I wanted to get Councillor Burton's input on this as to what he thinks. The point that he's making, and I don't agree with a liquor store, but the point he's making is that it would be inherently unfair, and this part I do agree with, and I've said so, is that if the town of Cardston is the only entity that makes money from the sale of alcohol in this community, that isn't inherently and maybe judicially unfair. And if he chose to sue us, right, which is basically, if you read between the lines, is what he's saying in his letter, he's not going to sit still for that, does he have a case? And if he does, does that factor into our thinking on this?
My reply. So, no, we can exercise all of that decision is within our jurisdiction to make.
Okay.
So there's a term called ultra vires. If we were making the decision for some reason that wasn't contemplated by a normal read of the legislation behind it. So if we wanted to punish somebody, or we'll show him, or, any of those kinds of things, they say, well, that's not something that we should have in our heads when we're voting. But if we're just exercising our discretion and voting one way or another, and there's always, if there's something to vote about, there's always somebody who potentially ends up on the short end of it, right?
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast. So I think there's zero risk there
Okay.
for
That comforts
us.
me.
Are we 100% sure?
No, it hasn't been tested. No one is.
That's what I mean. It has not been tested. Until somebody tests it, we would not know.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. That doesn't mean that's the
It's
way
an
it'll come
opinion.
out.
It's an
My-
opinion.
Concern all along is muddying the waters, what we want and what we might wind up with. It could happen, it might not happen. Let's
Right.
just stretch that stretch.
Anyways,
Let's
so,
stay where we're at. And
right
if he
now.
sues, he sues.
Okay. All right, so, I mean, we are not there, we have not made the
No.
decision, so we are not pushing the envelope to that end. All right, let's leave it alone. And that is about it.
We're still going in closed, okay,
Yeah.
I make a motion to go in closed session.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you to the media.